Hey everyone, it's Jeff Giroux at F5. Today I'm going to show you how to use the NGINX Plus Ingress controller through the AWS Marketplace. Here we go. So open this NGINX Ingress controller document. This is specifically pointing to the NGINX Plus Ingress controller. Why would you do this?
Yeah, why would I want that?
Maybe you have an Amazon EKS cluster that you built or some other cluster and it's using the NGINX Ingress controller image that you downloaded from the F5 Docker Hub registry. Maybe you crafted your own. Now you want to use the AWS Marketplace image in order to take advantage of the pay-as-you-grow marketplace. And if you signed a private offer where you're getting a discount via your account team at F5, you can now run this NGINX Plus Ingress controller image through the marketplace in your cluster. This document simply tells you how to go through the steps of allowing certain IAM access into the AWS Marketplace in order for you to run that NGINX Plus image. In the end, it gives you a link. You're going to download it, and you'll have an updated image that you could put in your manifest YAML file. In this case, I don't have my own cluster, so I'm going to do a quick walkthrough and I'll have a running cluster, and then we can proceed with the NGINX Plus portion. In this document, it uses EKS, which is Amazon's Elastic Kubernetes Service Cluster. I'm going to end up using the EKSCTL tool, and it does everything for you. It sets up the networks, the subnets, and certain IAM roles. So it makes it kind of easy, but if you have your own, then you should be working with that. First step is to make sure you have a working cluster. This takes you to Amazon Docs, how to use EKSCTL, customize these commands that they give you. This is my first command in order to run a cluster. And I already have down here at the prompt of VS Code, I have my credentials set. You'll need to paste your AWS credentials in this box inside your command environment variables. For me, I've already done that ahead of time.
What's the first step?
Guys, this takes about 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to kick it off and then I'll walk you through some other things that we could talk about. You see that this EKSCTL tool ends up kicking off a CloudFormation stack template. So if you don't know what that is, let's hop over to the CloudFormation screen and I'll show you that this stack is currently running. Over on the AWS console, if we switch over to CloudFormation, we will see the name of my cluster with some other prefix and suffix in the stack name. So in this case, EKSCTL Jeff cluster dash cluster. I like that name. Double cluster, double cluster.
Double cluster.
We can take a look at the stats and resources being created and events. It's not done yet. Again, this takes about 10 to 15 minutes or so. We can hit refresh and check the stack again. Resources gives you the overall list of all the things that were created. I mentioned you got the VPC, you have a subnet, internet gateway, everything you need to make an EKS cluster run from scratch. That could be good or bad. Let's switch over to our F5 Digital Customer Engagement Center ReadTheDocs, which is from our repo on GitHub. Now, this is a community kind of driven repo from the SAs and the SEs within the field at F5 and other contributors out there as well. Currently, there's a lab for NGINX Kick. It's the Kubernetes Ingress controller, the NGINX Plus version. If you don't want to run EKSCTL and go through that process, is walk through this lab process. This section here talks about cloning the repositories for the different code repos. There is one for the general lab, and then there's also one for the NGINX Plus Ingress controller. You can see that from the second link here from the NGINX Inc/Kubernetes Ingress. We're not going to need to clone the second link because we're actually getting that from the AWS Marketplace. And if you use this repo, it's pretty handy. There's a lot of other solutions in there for you guys to go play around with. So let's get back to work. Go back to the AWS console, and if we refresh the stack page, you can see that the first stack is complete. And if you look right here, here's the cluster, AWS EKS cluster. If we look at this next stack, we can see that it's making a role, a node group, and a launch template. That last stack finished. It finished in about 5 minutes, so let's go check it out. You can see here that it built out the various nodes based on the EKSCTL settings. All the defaults end up deploying a cluster of 2 nodes, and then it automatically put your cube config file in your session. So now I can type kubectl git nodes, and I will see the nodes that were deployed as part of the cluster. So open this NGINX Ingress controller document. Step 1 is to associate EKS cluster with an OIDC IAM provider. It assumes you have an EKS cluster up and running. It also assumes you have a namespace. We don't have a namespace, so I'm going to make that namespace real quick. We'll go back to VS Code. If we get namespace, we can see the current namespaces, and then we can also create NS for namespace NGINX-Ingress. For this next section, I have the OIDC command, my cluster name, the region, and approve. So as we run this, there we go. We see that we created an IAM OpenID Connect provider. Most likely you have an NGINX Ingress namespace, and you already have the NGINX Ingress service account. This command here will update the account. It will attach the ARN so you can have the AWS metered marketplace access. Let's clear out the screen and run it. If we click on this marketplace portal link, this is the NGINX controller container image. Subscribe to it, and let's continue to configuration. I'm going to pick the latest version and continue to launch. You want to copy this to your clipboard to download all the images. There are some usage instructions if you click that, and this simply takes you back to the NGINX docs page. And then you can also look at the GitHub repo to find sample YAML manifest files to deploy pods and ingress and services and things like that. Let's go back to VS Code. If we do docker image list, there's none. Run that command, and this will allow us to connect to the AWS ECR. Login succeeded, and now we're pulling down the NGINX Plus Ingress controller image that is tied to our marketplace account. All right, we have the image. Let's tag it. Let's push it. I have those commands saved already. The login, and we'll run that. The next thing to do is to tag. I'm just going to grab the image ID for now. So I have this command saved up here as well. If we do docker image list, we will see the new image name of the private registry with the name of the container image and the tag. So now the last step is to do a push. All right, what you just saw there was my shell and VS Code pushing that image up to the private registry in Amazon. If we go back to the repository and hit refresh, we can see this new image name. We see it's 2.1.0, that's what we called it. So instead of pointing to a public registry, you're going to end up pointing to your own private registry on AWS ECR with the registry name and the relevant tag. You got your private image, and hopefully you already have a cluster. I don't, so I'm going to go build mine. Now if we go back to the NGINX docs page, we can see there's a few ways to do this. You can use regular manifest files, which are all the YAML files. You can use Helm or NGINX Ingress operator. I'm not going to bore you guys with the actual install process that I'm going to follow, so I'll skip to the end. This is the exciting part. This is where we get to point to the Ingress controller image that we just got from the marketplace. First, what we need to do is grab the URI from the image. So let's click on the image and copy the URI. Now we can go back to VS Code and find that file, which is in the deployment folder, NGINX Plus Ingress YAML. And you're going to want to find the image field and replace that with your image name. So this is the private registry path with image tag. Now we can save this file, apply the file. Now let's see if the pods are running for NGINX Ingress, all pods. So there we are, we have a running pod, no crashes, no restarts. We can take a look at the logs as well. A successful start. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Hopefully you learned something today. In summary, what we did was go to the AWS Marketplace. We downloaded the NGINX Plus Ingress controller container image, and we loaded that in our EKS cluster. I think the rest is up to you guys. If you're doing this lab, don't forget to destroy your resources, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.